We're catching up today with Milwaukee Admirals Assistant Coach Greg Rallo. Greg, it's good to see you. I saw you, I think, almost exactly a month ago in Chicago. So you were sitting in the stands while the game was going on between the Wolves and Grand Rapids. Explain what this year has been like for you.
It's been a change for sure. It's different on the sides of things that we're kind of guests in someone else's house, if you will. We kind of have to sit back watching games from the stands is a different perspective. I'd have to say I enjoy being on the bench much better, being more involved in the games. But it's been a really good year to sit back and kind of watch our prospects from the stands, kind of get a different point of view on it and just go from there. And then, practice days, we do get the ability to work some skill drills into our daily routine. And me and Ford will get to go on the ice and work with guys individually on certain days of the week. So it's just all over. I'd say it's been a bit of a different year for us, but it's been fun.
When you get that individual work, is that after a team practice or is that instead of a team practice? How does that work?
Sure. With COVID this year and the games being so light, the coaching staff in Chicago is we map out our month. And so there's certain days that's set aside for skill days and certain days set aside for practice days. On the skill days, their forward coach and myself, we kind of get half the ice each, and then we run, about 45 minutes of skill practice, whatever that might be that day. And same thing's going on because they have 2 sheets of ice on the other side with Fordo and their D coach. So it's been good that way. So we do get like an entire about 45 minutes to an hour on skill day practices. And then regular practice days, Carl's on the ice with the team, and me and Fordo, if we're there that day, we usually just watch in the stands because we don't need that many coaches on the ice.
So let me get this straight. You have at this side of the red line, it's Nashville guys with you, and on this side of the red line, it's Carolina guys, or do you mix them all together?
No, yeah, no, it's like I'll come up. It's all mixed together. I'll
Okay,
come up
I was gonna
with
say,
skills. No, yeah, it's not like a divide and conquer kind of.
yeah, right.
It's I'm on that side. I come up with, we'll talk about it with Bob Nardella. He's there. He kind of does their forward stuff. So we chat, and he's going to do a certain thing, whether it's wall play or shooting, and then I kind of piggyback off that and do something else on my end. Go
Okay.
about 15, 20 minutes each, and then we flip flop the groups. But yeah, they're all intermixed now. The guys have done a great job. The first week was a bit awkward, but now they're a team, and I mean, I think their record shows it, but
Yes.
it's been good. Yeah.
And that was going to be my point, is the way they've played this season, and with all the jumbling of the rosters and call-ups and injuries and all of that stuff. Yeah, it's become a cohesive unit rather quickly there.
Yeah, it's been great to see. I remember the first week, maybe 2 weeks, it was a bit awkward. You'd see the kind of our guys hanging out together, their guys hanging out together, and then a couple key guys. One guy that sticks out was Tanner, like really kind of brought the group together. He kind of, took it upon himself to, start asking guys, want to go grab lunch or do things like that. So it was really good how quickly, after those first couple weeks, they became a team, and now it's like they're a team. So it'll be interesting once the season's over.
You have worked closely with Tanner the last couple of seasons, and it's amazing. One can look at the stats, and one can look at what's happening in Nashville and say that he's having a wonderful year. But your perspective on, you just said he kind of took over a leadership role. I shouldn't say kind of. He grabbed a leadership role. Give me your perspective on his growth.
I just when you being a young coach or newly coach, it's just so great to see a player that literally, whether it was Carl, myself, or Fordo, anything we told him to do, he trusted us and he did it. And just to see him, follow through on it, and now he's playing in the NHL and doing really, really well, in my opinion. Like, the thing that sticks out to me with Tanner is his game doesn't change. You can play him on the first line, you can play him on the fourth line. He doesn't get outside of his game. He doesn't change who he is. And I've talked about it a little bit, but he reminds me a lot of a guy, Chris Kunitz, who I played with in college, Kunitz have a decorated career and played with Crosby, but very similar into that, where Tanner can complement, a scorer like Tomasino, who he's playing with in Chicago, and not change the way he plays and not try to be a skilly kind of guy. He stays to what's true to him, and that's how he has success and scores goals. And then he's also there to go and get pucks and be the heavy guy alongside, the skill guy. So for him, it's tough to do as a player, and you got to respect the fact that he stays true to himself and the type of player he is.
I want to get back to something you said earlier about sitting in the stands as opposed to the bench. We use and I don't know if cliche would be the right word, but it's often said, well, if a player needs a night off, it's a good thing to go sit in the stands or go sit in the press box and watch the game and get a different perspective. And granted, a whole season of that for you may be a little different, but have you gotten a different perspective on the game rather than being on the bench or playing it as you did so well?
Yeah, it's different. You get in the stands and you kind of see it. Obviously, you can see a little bit more. Your views a little bit better, and then you don't have guys constantly asking questions or the hustle bustle of the game, so you actually can watch the game a bit more. I think at the end of the day, it's a lot of the same stuff, and hockey doesn't change that much,
Right.
if you will, and just watching and being able to see our guys, and it's fun. It's fun to watch the growth in games, and even young guys that have come to us this year to kind of see, there has been positives to this year, as messed up as it might be, our guys are getting valuable experience, first year guys that hopefully, when they come in next year, we're skipping that trial process and they're off and running.
Yeah, yeah. Bottom line, competition is competition, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's what you're looking for, whether it's internal or against another team.
Yes, and there was compete early on in our year to grab, the new coach's eye, and then now, playing against the other teams and play a lot of the same teams over and over again. So it's gotten a little bit heated in some games, but it's good to see our guys having success.
Yeah, I want to ask you about Anthony Richard. A lot of people. There have been so many other players going up, right? And Ritchie has not gone up to play in Nashville, but it's good to see. I note him on the score sheet, especially this last week, and it's good to see what he's doing down there.
Yeah, I think for Richie, that's got to be difficult for him as a player. I would think, mentally wise, you see a lot of the young guys getting opportunities, getting called up, and having a lot of success in
Yes, doing
Nashville.
well, yeah,
And I know last year was a bit of an off year for him, and he understood that. And I think even the start of this year, he wasn't where he needed to be, even for himself. If you asked him, I think he would tell you the same thing. And just to see him kind of now finding his game again, finding his scoring touch again, and utilizing his assets to help him score, his speed and his shot. And in the last game, he scored a couple goals by just shooting the puck hard, and that's what we kind of preach to him, like, use your speed, but you got a great shot and you need to use it.
hit the net. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You mentioned Tomasino too. Tell us about his game?
he's good. I mean, he's got the perfect mix of, um, swagger about him,
That's
but
a,
at the
that's a
same
word
time,
that's a word that Fordo used. He's got a
yeah,
swagger about him.
I was trying to find the right word to use. Swagger for sure. And I know Carl's had a conversation with him. Myself is having a conversation with him to, you respect the game, you be a good rookie, you respect the older players. But when you get on the ice, you're all the same, and it's time to shine. And yeah, and I think he's grasped that, and he understands it, and he knows he's a kid that's focused. For a skill guy, I've seen him. His preparation and the way he approaches the game and his passion for the game, the amount he works on the ice and off the ice, kind of can see why he's had success in his career, and look for him to have success, whether it be in the American League or the NHL.
You are currently in Nashville getting ready to work with the Predators. People can tell that from the beige wall behind you, that you are in the protective quarantine or whatever for a couple of days. But when you go down there now, are you working solely with the taxi squad? What are you going to be doing?
So Fordo was here a couple weeks. So speaking with him, primarily our responsibilities will be, run the taxi squad practices, skate any kind of injured guys, or any extra sessions outside of the main group is what I've been told, to kind of, alleviate some of that from their staff, so they can focus on this playoff push that they're in. And then also, I know John Hines, the head coach here in Nashville, Fordo told me he's very inclusive. So Fordo was on the ice for main practice. He was allowed to be out there, which I think is pretty cool. I'm pretty
Yeah.
excited to kind of see how they operate and learn as much as I can. And then game day operations, also Fordo was telling me that he's really inclusive again, that he watched the games from the press box, but in between periods, he was allowed to go down and kind of, give his insight on what he's seeing from up there. So I think that's great that John's willing to include us and kind of help us learn and grow, because ultimately, we want to be coaches in the NHL someday. So it's great to get this experience.
I like that thought that 8 eyes, 10 eyes are better than 2 eyes, right? I mean, and I've heard, I knew John briefly years ago when he was at the University of Wisconsin, but to have that attitude where everybody, let's work together because it's just going to help the cause. I mean, that's an awesome attitude to have.
Absolutely, and I feel if I was ever put in that situation, I feel I would have a very similar approach. He's the head coach. Ultimately, he's going to make the decision you want to make, but why not hear other people's opinions and take it all in, and that way, hopefully, you can make the best decision moving forward for the team. So yes, I agree. I think that's great, and again, I'm excited about the opportunity.
Real quick, and maybe you don't know this answer yet, but if when the Predators, if the Predators get into the playoffs, and I'm assuming there will be some black aces, does that mean you're in Nashville for a while, or is that still up in the air?
I believe it's still up in the air. I know I'm here until the 10th of May. That's what I was told when I came down here. As for playoffs, I would assume head coach Carl Taylor would be the first one to come down for playoffs. I'm not sure if that's true or which months past that. That's just kind of the way I would think it would go. But again, yeah, I'm sure as soon as they get in, that'll be the next thing that on our list to figure out what the plan is.
Greg, it's good to see you. Stay well. Enjoy your time in Nashville, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Great. Thanks, Simsy. Appreciate it.
Milwaukee Admirals Assistant Coach Greg Rallo.